Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel. Russ and Addison here again, as always, to use DynastyLeagueFootball.com and its trade finding and analyzing goodness to help you get ahead of your league mates and just to make everyone look silly. Just because that's what this is about, right? It's about having fun, it's about winning, and it's about making fun of your friends.
Exactly.
We're complete strangers, to be fair. You don't have to know these people. So I know people just like join random leagues and stuff like that. Yeah, you don't need to. It's more fun personally if you know them. Like this year when I destroy Addison in Trade Addicts 11, I'm going to have a good time with that.
But
actually, we're both rebuilding, so it doesn't really work.
But we're gonna destroy everybody else in the Watcher League. So
yeah, I mean, we won last
together.
That's just going to keep happening. That's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring that up because that just feels mean. That feels like we're just rubbing it in. Just
I'll keep bringing it up.
All right, here we go. All right, so if you are all on, I'm still calling it Twitter. Something happened. I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before. Time has lost all meaning. So why don't you walk us through what led us to, and then you'll reveal the theme as we go. What happened on Twitter, Addison?
Yeah, I got obliterated. So in Trade Addicts 11, I have Justin Herbert, and if people have been watching the channel, they know that I've been kind of anti Justin Herbert for a few months now. I wasn't trying to actively move Herbert in TA11 because I was on the rebuild side of things, but then I made a couple deals that kind of, I'm like, okay, like I could compete if I get like one or two more good deals in, I could compete, and especially if I tear down from Herbert and get some more assets on top. So that's what I've been trying to do for the past month or so. And so I just recently sent out a trade offer to tear down from Herbert to Jared Goff. And it got rejected again. I think it was yesterday. It could have been Monday. I don't know. I don't remember. But then I tweeted out the trade offer, and I said, I don't know how this trade getting rejected makes me feel about Herbert's new value, about Goff's value, or anything like that. Like, it was totally not the trade. The reason why I tweeted it out was just to express that I think that Justin Herbert's value has dropped significantly to where now he might be an interesting buy low. But then I kind of got ripped to shreds by people for saying that I was stupid for even offering that, to even think that that's what Justin Herbert's value is. So that leads us to today's episode of overreactions. Players that are seemingly their values seem to be overreactions based on recent news or moves or anything like that that we need to correct.
I'm going to read this trade that Addison sent, and I don't think it was in response to this offer, but something that was said in one of the Trade Addicts group chats. So the offer in a 12-team Superflex league was Justin Herbert for Jared Goff, Cooper Kupp, a 25-second, and Trey Sermon for some reason.
Hey,
I'm curious about that part. We'll talk about that in a minute.
All right.
Why? So this is Justin Herbert at 723.1 by himself. Jared Goff 411, Cooper Kupp 212. The 25-second is 89, and Trey Sermon, I'm going to say the full number, 1.9 for a total of 714. So Justin Herbert, even with this compiled value, still outweighs whatever the 4 side. Now, again, Cooper Kupp is going to be a little undervalued when there aren't points being scored. And I may have just written my Trading Post article, which involves trading for Jared Goff. But the point of trading for Jared Goff is the fact that he's cheap. Now, I will tell you, recently in one of the Trade Addicts chats, someone said the phrase, Justin Herbert is Jared Goff with a fancy name. Like, that's how either low people have fallen on Justin Herbert, or just people are finally coming around on Jared Goff. And now that he got that contract, we see what St. Brown and Laporta can do. They have Gibbs, who's a great pass catcher out of the backfield. They didn't really address pass catcher, well, wide receiver 2, whoever pass catcher 3 is going to be. I don't think they brought anyone in. And they let Chark and one of the, I can't remember if it was Raymond or the other guy go. I guess they have Jameson Williams.
I think they still have Khalif Raymond. Chark is actually on the Chargers. So.
Oh, there you go. That's right. Like, I am a little low on Justin Herbert, but I have faith in his talent. I have faith in Harbaugh as a coach from everything we've seen to put his players in situations to succeed. Now, is his ceiling capped? Most likely. Like, but was Herbert ever going to be the QB1? Probably not.
A few years ago, you might have thought it. He was QB2 overall when he threw for 5,000 yards in 2021. So
that'll do it.
Yeah. So he had that ceiling in him.
Yeah.
But he hasn't done
that
anything.
Being said, like, depending on my team situation, like, I still see this as an upgrade. I agree with the analyzer where, I mean, Goff and Kupp for Herbert, the second and Sermon are nice extra little pieces, but like, I very much consider this trade offer if I'm competing and my team is solid enough to lose Cooper Kupp in the second, because whether the ceilings in the end are close enough, which, I mean, they kind of can. They both have very easy top 8-ish outcomes that seem very likely. I think Herbert does have the higher ceiling. Like, I think it definitely is higher. And honestly, I think Herbert has the higher floor just based on talent. Like, I get it. They lost Keenan. They lost Mike Williams. They bring in McConkey. And I mean, I don't want to like write off Palmer. Like, he's always been very good when he's been on the field, covering for everyone else who's been injured. I think the answer here is Herbert. And while I completely understand the other side, again, not including Trey Sermon, because you'll have to explain that one to me. But this is a fair trade. I think it's a very, very good trade. It is a little specific based on the team and how you feel about the rest of your roster, because this is a going into the season trade for me. Mm-hmm. This is, I kind of know what my lineup is, which, by the way, I've started looking earlier this year than I have the normal looking at my starting lineup when, looking at trades. So, like, I'm there already. So, like, if I'm like, all right, Cooper Kupp, not what he used to be, Jared Goff, those home away splits, though he plays like 15 games in a dome this year, something ridiculous like that. Herbert's the upgrade here. And if I think I can live losing that little piece of depth with Cooper Kupp, I take Herbert. Like, I'm not that low. He's still a tier above Goff for me. Goff should be the new Kirk Cousins. He shouldn't be Justin Herbert.
Yeah. So all of that was basically what played through my mind when I offered this trade. And like you can see from the DLF trade analyzer, like Herbert wins this without the package adjustment. If I were to throw the package adjustment on here, that basically mitigates the second and Trey Sermon.
I was about to say you're probably losing more than 10% of this value, which is exactly what you just said. Yeah.
Yeah. And then even just for my own sanity from getting flamed on Twitter, I looked on Keep Trade Cut. The trade is fair when it's just Goff and Kupp, to where like adding a second and Trey Sermon, I don't think should have been the thing that really like, oh, like this is so insulting that you've added a second to a deal that was already fair. How greedy are you? To where I was fully expecting a counter offer without the second, to where I probably I might have still taken it. But people on Twitter were like, you should be adding to Justin Herbert to get to Jared Goff. I should add another second round pick onto this to mitigate the second and everything like that. Like, they're like, the value that you're missing, Goff and Herbert are equal. So then I didn't even pay for Cooper Kupp on this, let alone asking for a second. So I got a whole bunch of that. The other part that was hilarious, though, to me was that for about every response that I got that said that I was an idiot for offering this, how could I even think this was fair? There was an equal and opposite response of, thank God they didn't accept this trade because you were selling Justin Herbert so low for this. And it was like a clear, there was nobody in the middle that saw like, oh, this seems like a pretty fair offer right now, given both of their values and given potential team directions. It was either you're an idiot for thinking that this trade would go through, or you're an idiot for trying to sell Justin Herbert for that low. There was no.
I mean, you understand the point, like the moral of the story, right?
Don't ask for Trey Sermon. Apparently,
you're an idiot.
That is it. I'm an idiot. One way or another, I'm an idiot. And maybe it's because of I am trying to get, which I added Trey Sermon on there because I think that he's the clear handcuff to Jonathan Taylor. And I like rostering handcuffs. So that's why I added him in here. I was just like, yeah, just Trey Sermon.
I know. And that makes perfect sense. It's just hilarious to put Trey Sermon in a trade these days.
It made me realize not how many like casuals there are out there, or that people that don't play or think about Dynasty and values on a level that we do. But it's just like, league values and league markets are so different in every single league. It's so just depends on the 10 or 12 people in your league, and how they feel about certain players can wildly and drastically change market value for players.
Yeah, the real moral of the story is calm down, people. Stop calling people names because of Dynasty trade offers. But let's go to this next one. Let's go to a trade that actually happens. Justin Herbert and Jalen Waddle. Caution, Team B is giving up the highest value asset and the most pieces in the deal for Joe Burrow, Christian Kirk, and Marshawn Lloyd. Justin Herbert, 723. Jalen Waddle, 466 for a total of 1189. Joe Burrow, 811, Christian Kirk, 154, Marshawn Lloyd, 41 for a total of 1,006. So we're overpaying to go get the higher asset, which is Joe Burrow is the highest asset in here. Now, I know this is going to be tough for us because of our Jalen Waddle feelings. What are your thoughts on Christian Kirk and Brian Thomas Jr. in general? I don't know, like, I may have gotten myself too invested in the Jaguars offense because I love Brian Thomas Jr. I've loved Christian Kirk, and I love Evan Engram, and you love you some ETN. So when our powers combine, we are a Jaguars fan, which is weird to say out loud. I love Joe Burrow. I really, really do. But I think there's a good chance of Waddle and Kirk's scoring being closer than Burrow and Herbert's. Actually, I don't know how I feel about after saying that out loud. Just give me Marshawn Lloyd. You know, that's what I'm going to, you know what? That's it. Give me the side with Marshawn Lloyd on it. That's not right. You talk. I need to think about this.
Yeah, I think Waddle over Kirk and Lloyd pushes this enough for me to where I would take the Herbert and Waddle side and then try to do something differently with Justin Herbert. Though, again, depending on your league and how people value Justin Herbert, that could or could not be a good way to go. I think if this is a low active league.
How close do you have Burrow and Herbert? Like it's 723.1 to 811.4. So this is like the difference of a 25 second.
Yeah, I might have it. It's not a first, but I wouldn't sell Burrow for Herbert in a second. It would need to be something a little more.
You need that overpay like that, but that's par for course in everything we've always said anyway. But
yeah, like Herbert is a borderline QB1 and Burrow is like QB 7 or 8 or something like that in Dynasty. So it's
so if someone's overpaying a little bit and it goes Herbert and a 25 first for Burrow, I think I take Herbert at that point.
I'm taking and that's what this kind of feels like. Like I feel like the difference between Waddle and then Kirk and Lloyd as a 2-for-1 package feels like it's still lopsided on the Jalen Waddle side. That I think that's why it pushes it towards the Herbert side for me on this. I love Christian Kirk. I think he's a super underrated player. And if you're a contending team, I would 100% be going to try to buy Christian Kirk. But I think I just think I'm also feel that way about Jalen Waddle. Like Waddle was on a video of mine that's releasing today, actually for 4 for 4 about why I'm in on Jalen Waddle for redraft. And so just that compounds for Dynasty because he's 25 and fantastic. So
yeah, you got to remember that Waddle's coming off a season where he was hurt for almost the entire season and still was a top 25 wide receiver. I think he
20 wide receiver 21 in points per game. His 17 game pace was 85 for over 1,206.
That's still really good. It's not what he was
with Tyreek Hill doing chasing 2,000 all year. So
yeah, like they clearly, yeah, with Waddle being a little limpy and Hill doing Hill things, it's very easy to understand why the season went the way it did for Waddle. I think I agree with you in the end. I think the difference between Waddle and those pieces is big enough to make me just be like, I'll take Herbert, and hope that the Harbaugh Roman effect isn't as strong as we think it will be. All right, so let's see who the next player is. This is a guy we both thought of very quickly, and it's Brandon Aiyuk. While technically he hasn't been traded yet, it seems like the only team left is Pittsburgh. He said no to Cleveland, no to New England, and the only other team left in talks is the Steelers, who I saw last night that there was like a contract and deal in place. It's just waiting to see if San Francisco and Aiyuk say yes.
Yep. Yeah. Or if I think San Fran's trying to match the Steelers contract. I think that's probably where we're at right now. Like,
right, because they restarted
Aiyuk, right. It's basically like Aiyuk, you can either get paid 25 a year from Pittsburgh or 25 a year from San Fran. Which one do you want? And we'll do whichever one. That seems like this is where we're at right now.
The weather is just so
Wednesday
much
at noon.
Nicer in San Francisco.
Yes.
That's all I got.
The football team.
Yeah, I mean, that matters to some people. Who knows? Okay, so my feelings on Aiyuk are he's really, really good. Like, I really firmly believe in the talent of the player. The two teams that he's left to go to, I don't know if he fits that that wide receiver one, because San Francisco doesn't play a style where that exists. And Pittsburgh will start to get crowded. Him and Pickens, while they're not the same, nor do they fully play the same position, they overlap. Like, they're both good at that intermediate to long. And, like, not to say that they'll cannibalize each other, because that usually makes it seem like they both fall to the middle. I still think Aiyuk will win that battle, because I do just think he's better than George Pickens. Maybe saying the phrase, it'll cap him a little bit, which really just means he'll produce the same as he has in San Francisco in my mind, which is still really good.
Probably. Yeah, like in San Fran, he survived on efficiency over target volume, and the hope was that he could potentially go somewhere where his targets increased by like 30 a year, and maybe some of that efficiency drops, but overall, like, the target volume increase would outweigh efficiency loss, and he would just go nuts. I don't know if that happens in Pittsburgh, and his efficiency will probably also drop. But we've seen Deontay Johnson do really, really well, and Deontay was the thing that was holding George Pickens back, because Deontay is better than George Pickens, and so I think Aiyuk is much better than Deontay Johnson. Yes. So that he's much better than George Pickens. So Aiyuk would win that, I think, very well. I think that he would be the alpha wide receiver one in Pittsburgh without a doubt. It would just be, can we get him the ball enough to be a fantasy wide receiver one or a top 15 guy like he is in San Fran. People are worried, though. I mean, I've gotten numerous questions about trading Aiyuk and what to do with him right now, and should you sell him for this or that, or should I get off of him for some other wide receiver too? And they're concerned about Pittsburgh really capping his production.
Well, let's go talk about this first one, because this ain't it. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tilt my cap. I'm going to spoiler alert a little bit. 12-team Superflex, Brandon Aiyuk for Jaden Reed and Jalen Wright. Too many J's, Jays, by the way. So Brandon Aiyuk by himself, 446.2. Jaden Reed, 213. Jalen Wright, 30.4. I mean, he's a next year thing probably, for a total of 242.9. So we're almost at like half the value of Aiyuk. This is pure panic. And what makes me giggle a little bit about this is, let's say you are worried about the volume he would get in Pittsburgh. You're going to a guy who's in a worse situation, because the Packers have 3 or 4 wide receivers, well, pass catchers, because, there's Reed, Wicks, and Dubs, and then Musgrave, and man, I still like
Watson.
Oh, I was going to say Croft, but and Watson, but like none of these guys stick out from the others. And there was a quote recently from like Matt LaFleur saying it makes me want to puke anytime someone asks me if we have a number one wide receiver or something like that. Like, that's not what they're looking for. They're moneyballing this. Like, they just want dudes that will catch the ball.
Yeah.
And while honestly, Jayden Reed is my favorite of those wide receivers, though I think Dontavian Wicks might be my second. Like, I don't know why. Once I saw him play in the NFL, I was always a fan. But like, the ceiling between Aiyuk and Jayden Reed are very different. The floors aren't similar, because if Jayden Reed completely disappears into that wide receiver core, Brandon Aiyuk is that much more talented than the rest of the wide receivers on Pittsburgh. Plus, I have enough faith in both quarterbacks in Pittsburgh that it won't. Like, I don't care. I care who starts because I drafted Russell Wilson as my QB2 in my SFB team. But for the wide receivers, for the pass catchers, I should say, it doesn't matter whether it's Wilson or Fields for me. I think Wilson is still better. But this is so easily Aiyuk. This is a panic move, and moving to the wrong. Like, if I'm moving Aiyuk, it's for someone I know is the number one on his team. Even if the value isn't like Michael Pittman, he's the wide receiver one on his team. His value is probably not all that different from Brandon Aiyuk's, but Jalen Wright doesn't really add much to the situation. So if you have someone that values Aiyuk over Pittman, getting Pittman and a dart throw for Aiyuk, that feels right. That feels good. This does not.
Yep, agreed. This is, man, if Brandon Aiyuk ends up staying in San Francisco, the guy who traded Aiyuk in this trade is going to be so mad.
I think it's bad. I think they end up regretting it anyway.
They probably do. This is 100%. Oh crap! I heard that the three teams interested were Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and New England. I need to get rid of Brandon Aiyuk, because if he's going to one of those three teams, his value is shot. And this was not at all how you do that. Like, Pittman is a great example. Even if you went to a team wide receiver too, go to like Devonta Smith or Tank Dell was another popular alternative choice off of Brandon Aiyuk that I saw in the trade finder. I'd even be interested in like DK Metcalf, or maybe it's DJ Moore or somebody like that. Like those wide receivers are all better than Jayden Reed. So, and you could probably all still get like a Jalen Wright level player attached to all of them for Aiyuk right now, if you're that worried about Brandon Aiyuk.
Yeah. This next one's very interesting though, because there's a lot that goes into this one. So the trade is Brandon Aiyuk and Kyren Williams for Breece Hall. Brandon Aiyuk, 446. Kyren Williams, 330 for a total of 776. Breece Hall by himself, 664.8. So you're overpaying a little bit for the highest valued player, the 2-for-1. What's your feelings on Kyren Williams and the whole Corum backfield situation?
I actually had him in the back of my mind as we had Herbert and Aiyuk as our two players, and we were trying to figure out who the third player was going to be.
I don't know who they are, by the way. The third player, I don't know who it is, and I'm very excited to scroll to.
But I had Kyren in the back of my head as an overreaction player that we have dropped him too far because of Blake Corum. I still think Kyren is very easily the RB1 on this team, and Corum said more about the players that they had behind Kyren last year than it was about Kyren Williams himself. Now, of course, if Kyren injuries continue to happen, like he got hurt as a rookie, he got hurt last year, missed 5 or 6 games. If that continues, then I could see Corum, getting more and more work. But I think Kyren Williams, as long as he's healthy, he's still a top 10 running back. And maybe his dynasty value is a little too high as like RB7 or 8 or 9 or whatever, just because of the injury concerns and the offense that he's in. It seems like McVay doesn't really care who his main RB1 is. He's going to make anybody productive, more or less. Yeah. I still believe that Kyren Williams, from a fantasy football perspective for 2024, is going to be really good. And if he's good for 2024, that should carry over for 2025. And then you get Brandon Aiyuk. So I would take the package pretty easily here over just one Breece Hall.
Yeah, I agree with you. When you have to pull Darrell Henderson off the couch to come in and be your injury fill-in,
yeah,
you're speaking to the depth on your roster. And while I believe Corum is probably better than injury depth, like he should get on the field. Kyren Williams should not. Like, again, I say this whenever we talk about workhorse running backs. There aren't many left, and if they are, they're not Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey's the only man alive that should be getting, like, remember, like, once in Carolina, he literally got like 99% of the backfield touches in a season. Like,
that was great.
That should not happen.
Breece Hall would be another one that could do that, though.
Yeah. So, like, I love this because it's like we have these mixed feelings about Brandon Aiyuk. We have these mixed feelings about Kyron Williams. And then Breece Hall, it's like, well, he's on the Jets. And what's the Jets going to be like? First of all, it doesn't matter that he's on the Jets. He's that good. And we've seen him do really well when that team was terrible. But in the long run, I'm with you because this would hurt my soul to trade Breece Hall away. I believe Kyron Williams is going to be the guy, enough of the guy that maybe we don't see the 30 points per game he was sort of putting up at one point. But like enough to be a top 5 producing running back, and then give me Aiyuk, who has the ability to be a top 20 to top 15 producing wide receiver if everything goes right for him. And yeah, Breece Hall is going to outscore both of these guys, but you're also getting 2 very good players in 2 starting spots. Like, you're going to start both of these guys every single week, and I think it's worth it to do that. Like, even if like both of these are competing teams, it's more about this is more about filling out your starting lineup.
Yeah, for sure. And from a dynasty roster construction, I think the Aiyuk side is just safer long term too. If you're trying to go for that kind of standpoint.
Okay, I can get behind this very, very strongly. Our third player is Justin Jefferson, and I love it. But still, all right, let's go to these trades because I have a feeling I'm just going to be picking Justin Jefferson a whole lot. 12-team super flex, Justin Jefferson, Tony Pollard, and a 26 second for Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, and a 26 first. Justin Jefferson, 856. Tony Pollard, 100. 26 seconds, 60 for a total of 1015. Rome Odunze, 426. DJ Moore, 324. 26 first, 187 for a total of 936. Yeah, this is so easily Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson in the 20. Take Tony Pollard out of this. And I know Tony Pollard is a big, or you know what? Then fine, take the second out of it. Like either or, because they're pretty much the same to me. Rome Odunze is fine. Like he's a good player. That offense is going to be interesting. Like, what is that offense going to be? Because they have 3 very talented wide receivers, and they just won up to one of them. And maybe Keenan Allen is a 1-year thing, but like, oh yeah, they're both here. I hate it even more now. Like, you know, there's sometimes you don't worry about having 2 players on like having Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, having Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Having like a, you know, any pass catcher on the Chiefs that you think is worthwhile besides Travis Kelce, like, you know, having multiple of those offenses never feels like a problem. Having these 2 guys, even though Caleb is supposed to be the end all be all, he's still a rookie wide receiver. I just hold Justin Jefferson and figure something else out if I feel the need to move him. Like if this is a like rebuilding move and all I have is Justin Jefferson, I don't want DJ Moore coming back. Like that's what has me stuck on this anyway. Even for me, like, you know me, I don't want to upset anybody. So I want to try and find a certain situation where I say it's the other side also. Mm-hmm. I'm struggling here. Like to me, this is just Justin Jefferson. This is being scared and breaking him down into pieces that don't make sense to me because none of them, like one of them needs to be a lot stronger. Like, if it's the rookie, it needs to be a Marvin Harrison Jr. level prospect or Malik Neighbors. If it's the player, it needs to be someone I know is going to still be scoring like they showed last year, at least. I don't think DJ Moore is going to have the same season he has last year because he was all there was. This isn't it to me. Like, even if someone just sent me this package for just Justin Jefferson, I hold Justin Jefferson.
Yeah. Or if you're trying to buy Justin Jefferson, I think this is a fantastic way to do this. And you threw out Pollard in the second, and but like that, they're not nothing pieces either. To where
no. But yeah, when we're talking about
Justin Jefferson, yes,
yeah,
I understand.
Exactly.
I understand for sure. But like, I feel like, and this is why I included Justin Jefferson here, is because there is enough concern right now, and I've seen it from, you know, redraft circles. They've had Justin Jefferson as like the wide receiver 4 or 5 or 6 in redraft, which I understand. Like, you know, CeeDee Lamb might have a better year this year because he's with Dak Prescott. Tyreek probably gonna have a better year this year because he's with Tua and is Tyreek Hill. You know, but Justin Jefferson, I feel like we just don't remember that he's like phenomenal, and we are overweighting how much he is like how not quarterback dependent he is. Like we're overvaluing Kirk Cousins' loss to where we just need a quarterback in there that's going to throw Justin Jefferson the ball 10 times a game. And if he does that, Justin Jefferson is going to do the rest. Like he is just that good of a wide receiver that I will always and forever trade 2 dynasty wide receiver 2s for a top 3 dynasty wide receiver, let alone I still have Justin Jefferson as my dynasty wide receiver 1. So the discount right now, it's the discount on Justin Jefferson is not that you might get him for less than he's worth. The discount is that the person who has him in your league might be willing to listen to a trade offer for him right now because there is concern about Darnold or McCarthy and the offense and all that other stuff, where I would do this in a heartbeat, actively going out and trying to see if I can buy Justin Jefferson for this kind of trade.
These 2 trades that you picked show that there might be a bit of a discount, because even with our love for this next one, which is Justin Jefferson for Jalen Waddle, Zamir White, and Luke Musgrave. Luke Musgrave is like the most popular throw-in player in trades, and it blows my mind. I'm at the point where I reject it, encounter, and just don't put Musgrave in. Like, I don't want him on my team at this point. And there's no backing to it. He's a good player on a team, like I said before, where especially if you play in a tight end premium league, there's a chance that he gets enough targets for that to really come into play. But it's just like, why is everyone trying to give me Luke Musgrave? And it's in multiple leagues, clearly, because there's only one copy in 99% of the leagues, except for our Watcher League. Now we're going to get so many offers with Luke Musgrave, which good. That makes it feel like good, because then that makes me feel like you guys actually watch. So Justin Jefferson at 974.3, you're supposed to be overpaying to get to the stud, especially in a 3-for-1. Like I said before, our love of Jalen Waddle usually comes into, like, Addison and I both put our personal bias into these reviews when we're looking, but like even this still ain't enough. Like this is so easily Justin Jefferson that I don't get it. Like this, maybe if that was Kyron Williams instead of Zamir White, we can have a conversation.
That just highlighted how much of an upgrade you need to have over Zamir White at the running back position for this to even start being a conversation. Because like Zamir, that even if Zamir ended up being a fantasy RB1 this year, I would, if you told me that right now, that Zamir White finished the year as like the RB8, I would still not make this trade.
Not even close.
No, I need somebody that's like Kyron or Kenneth Walker or Isaiah Pacheco or Jonathan Brooks. Like that is like where we start talking about making this deal worth it to trade off of Justin Jefferson. And I don't mind the trade down option. Like I think there are a good handful of players that you can trade down from Justin Jefferson where you're not remaining in that top tier. Like you don't trade down from JJ to like Amon-Ra or Marvin Harrison or somebody like that. Like if you want like a bigger trade down, go to Nico, go to Jalen Waddle, go to, maybe like Garrett Wilson or somebody like that. But like, and I'm here for those conversations, but it needs to make sense and it needs to be, an overpay because it's still Justin Jefferson. And this is one of those trades that I think highlights why you shouldn't care about your starting lineup until you really absolutely need to care about your starting lineup, because this is somebody who's looking at their lineup and they're saying, man, I do not have an RB2. Like my RB2 right now is, Zach Charbonnet or something like that.
And you shouldn't care about.
Nope. You
RB2s.
make deals like this when you start caring about your starting lineup, and it's dangerous and just, it's wrong. It's just flat out wrong.
Again, this is one of those things where the first one, no, the Adunze and Moore in the first, which good for you for getting that pick swap in there, that, for that package side. But the second one is right in theory, wrong in practice. Like going from Justin Jefferson to Jalen Waddle, a lot of names with J's today, is the right move. But even if you took the total value of Zamir White and Luke Musgrave and put it together into one player, that's not enough to come close to Justin Jefferson.
Nope. Go buy Justin Jefferson and have some fun.
Maybe I need to now, since I sold 2 shares of him, because that might be my only 2 shares of him. But that's it. That is our overreaction show on the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel. It is not an overreaction to say that our show, as always, was fantastic. Russ Fisher, Dynasty Outhouse, Addison Hayes, @Maze Hayes _. We'll catch you next time.